All right, how's everybody doing today? Hotep. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. It is Saturday, April 6th, 2019. So I hope everybody's doing well today. Share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in as well. So I wanted to talk about this story. I've seen a couple of articles about it. We posted one article dealing with this, and the article went viral. I posted on my personal page, Michael Imhotep, and our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. And this deals with OneUnited Bank. OneUnited Bank is the largest African-American owned bank in the country. And they launched in March of 2019, they launched their new Queen Visa debit card, their Queen Visa debit card, okay? And this is to honor a new generation of black queens in America. Okay, so the picture that they released looks fantastic. They released a press release March 20th, 2019. TheGrio.com has an article about this. BlackEnterprise.com has an article as well. And OneUnited Bank launched a Queen Visa debit card under its royalty campaign to recognize women who exude hashtag Black Girl Magic, including Harriet Tubman, Shirley Chisholm, and Angela Davis. So this is something fantastic, all right? How's everybody doing? We have Tanya, we have Salih, just a few of the people watching us. Milton, how you all doing, okay? Hotep to everybody. Hotep is an offering of peace in the ancient Medu-Neter language, the ancient language of the ancient Egyptians, okay? So it's an offering of peace. All right, so let's look at this article. And African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast also, and we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network as well. All right, so let's look at this. Let me refresh my screen here, and let's look at this article from TheGrio.com. All right, so the largest African-American owned bank is paying respects to black queens all over the country. OneUnited Bank launched a Queen Visa debit card under its royalty campaign to recognize the women who exude hashtag Black Girl Magic, according to a press release. All right, so let's look quickly at the press release also. I'll pull it up here. Press release from March 20th, 2019. The bank is celebrating a new generation of queens in America who are claiming their thrones. From scientists to activists, from educators to entertainers, black women are changing the world. Now we know March was Women's History Month. March was Women's History Month. And to me, March is a continuation in many ways of February, which is African American History Month, or what used to be known as Black History Month. Now, the impact of hashtag Black Girl Magic cannot be denied. Some of the most important political and civil rights leaders have been black women such as Harriet Tubman, Shirley Chisholm, and Angela Davis. Some of the most important artists and entertainers have also been black women, such as the late Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, Queen Bey, Beyonce, Queen Latifah. You have Queen Quen, an acronym, Janelle Monáe, Nobel laureate Toni Morrison, and of course Oprah Winfrey. And from 2007 to 2018, the number of businesses owned by African American women grew by a stunning 164%. According to Forbes. So Forbes.com has an article, and Forbes is citing the study from American Express dealing with, it's the 2018 study dealing with the state of women-owned businesses. The state of women-owned businesses. I just went through, it's a 15-page study. I just went through and read the study before this broadcast. If we look at the article from Forbes.com, Forbes has an article from September 9th, 2018. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news, okay? And African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. And we have a special promotion. Get 3 months for the price of 1. We put your 30-second, 60-second commercial into the audio podcast of the African History Network show. Broadcast we do throughout the week, and we'll do an interview with you as well. Okay? How's everybody doing? Now, if we look at this article from Forbes.com, and it cites the 2018 State of Women-Owned Business Report. And this is an update to the broadcast that I did on April 5th, dealing with black women can't wait 106 years for equal pay. Because in that article, in that broadcast, I cited the article from blackenterprise.com dealing with let's see, black women business owners outpace all other startups 6 times the national average. That was an article from 2016 that was looking at the 2015 State of Women-Owned Business Report, okay, which is from American Express Open. And in that report, it talked about how black women owned farms increased 322%. And they were looking at from 1997 to 2015. If we look at from 2007 to 2018, which is what the 2018 State of Women-Owned Business Report looks at, they see an increase in the number of women-owned businesses in general increased by 58%. The number of African-American women-owned businesses grew by 164%. What they found is that there are now 2.4 million African-American women-owned businesses. There are now 2.4 million African-American women-owned businesses in 2018. Now, most of these businesses are owned by African-American women between the ages of 34 to 54. Black women are the only racial or ethnic group with more business ownership than their male peers, according to the Federal Reserve. So we've seen a huge increase in the number of African-American owned businesses, all right? But also what we have seen is a decrease in the revenue for African-American female-owned businesses as well. All right, so American Express found that the gap is widening between the average revenue for businesses owned by women of color and those owned by non-minority women, basically white women. For women of color, average revenue dropped from $84,000 in 2007 to $66,400 in 2018, while for non-minority women-owned businesses or white women-owned businesses, revenue increased from $181,000 to $212,000 between the same period of time. Okay, basically looking at 2018 revenue. Okay, white women-owned business revenue increased from $181,000 to $212,000. Well, if we look at women of color in general, average revenue dropped in 2018 from $84,000. Well, from period of time. 2007 to 2018, 84,000 in 2007 to 66,000 in 2018. Okay, and then they break it down for African American women as well. All right, let's see here. The average annual sales for businesses owned by African American women was $27,752 in 2012. The most recent figures they say they have available specifically for African American women, that probably comes from the U.S. Census report of black-owned businesses, compared to $143,000 for all women and $170,000 for white women. Okay, this is looking at 2012. So even though there's an increase in African American owned female businesses, we see a decrease in the revenue of those businesses. And most African American women are not doing these businesses full time either. And this is what the report also from American Express Open talks about as well. Okay, so I'm still looking at the article from Forbes.com. We'll post the link of the article on the thread of the broadcast as well. For many African American women business owners, the tiny size of their firms is intentional, regardless of the dearth or lack of capital available from lenders. That's partly because they're often launched as a side business out of financial necessity. We talked about yesterday how the average African American woman makes 63 cents for every $1 that the average white male makes. It takes the average African American woman 20 months to make the same amount of money that the average white male makes in 12 months. So as I talked about yesterday, more African American women are turning to entrepreneurship not as their main source of income, but to augment their 9-to-5 job, because they are being underpaid at their 9-to-5 job. All this deals with policy. All this deals with politics. All this impacts economics. The money that you make, how much you get paid if you're underpaid, like many African American women are. This impacts the zip codes they live in. It impacts the quality of schools that their children go to. The quality of schools their children go to oftentimes impacts the college they go to. The college they go to oftentimes impacts the type of careers they have, which impacts the earning potential of their children, which impacts the zip codes their children live in, which impacts the quality of services in schools that their grandchildren will go to. Okay, so you have a cycle. All right, all this is interconnected and interrelated. This is why I taught entrepreneurship for 7 years, maybe 9 years. I taught entrepreneurship for a number of years. I never told people to quit their day job. I never told people that's one of the first things I tell people who want to be entrepreneurs. Do not quit your day job. Because when we understand that about 90 to 95% of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years, approximately 80% of African American owned businesses go out of business in the first 2 years, most African Americans can't afford to quit their job to start a business, because you don't start making in general, about 50% of all new businesses don't start making a profit till the 3rd year in business. And just because you start making a profit doesn't mean you can pay yourself a salary. How do we know? Check out OneUnited Bank is the largest African American owned bank in the country. Okay, somebody asked the question. Okay, OneUnited Bank is the largest African American owned bank in the country. How many of you all watched the TV show The Shark Tank? The Shark Tank is a fantastic show. Okay, I encourage, when I teach entrepreneurship, I encourage my students to watch The Shark Tank. You can learn a whole lot about business, how to value your business, marketing strategies, sales pitches, everything, right? But when you watch The Shark Tank, one, you see the majority of the contestants, the majority of them are white. Notice how many of them say, after they do their sales pitch and they have this great idea, you've never seen anything like this before, it's going to revolutionize the market, right? Then you find out that the owners are not taking a salary. The owners are not taking a salary oftentimes on the shows on the Shark Tank. And they are better capitalized than most African American owned businesses, and they're not even taking a salary. They have to constantly reinvest. They have employees. They have to pay their employees. Okay? So when we look at African American owned businesses, they're oftentimes undercapitalized. That's because of a maldistribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, going back to 246 years of chattel slavery, decades of Jim Crow segregation, redlining when it comes to buying homes and getting insurance for homes, insurance for businesses, in the convict leasing system, black codes, all that impacts this that we're talking about. When we talked about the wealth gap, the average African American household has $17,000 in wealth compared to $171,000 for the average white household. Washington Post has an article from March 2019 that breaks this down. That deals with a historic maldistribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources. Okay, so we have to understand how all of this is interconnected and interrelated. Okay. All right, African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast, and email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise your African American owned business with the African History Network. Each episode of our show, the African History Network show, reaches thousands of people across the country. We put your 30-second to 60-second commercial into the audio podcast of our show. We're on 8 different podcast platforms. If you don't have a commercial, we can record one for you at no additional charge. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. customer service at africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay. Also check out the article from Vox.com. Tuesday is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. Tuesday is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. Here's what you should know about the gap. And this is from August 7th, 2018. So when I was speaking in San Diego, August of 2018, at the Return of the Gods awards ceremony and event, Return of the Gods, there at the World Beat Center, and I did my presentation, Black Women's Equal Pay Day is one of the things that I talked about, and a lot of African American women don't know about Black Women's Equal Pay Day. I found that shocking. I mean, I knew about it. I'm an African American man, but a lot of sisters didn't know about it. Okay, so I just found that shocking. Okay, so let's continue here. Let's look at the let's go back and look at the press release. So I'm looking at three things. So I was sharing with you the article from Forbes.com. There was a source article from the Griot. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news. The good and not so good news. That is from September 9th, 2018 from Forbes.com, which is a business publication, financial publication. Okay. Let's go back and look at the press release from OneUnited Bank, the largest African American owned bank in the country. And this is announcing their Queen Visa debit card that's part of their royalty campaign. And this new Queen Visa debit card is about celebrating a new generation of queens in America, or black queens in America. Okay, so they talk about, according to Forbes, in 2018 there were 2.4 million African American owned businesses. In almost every sector, black women reign. Quote, we agree with Maya Angelou, states Terry Williams. Now, Terry Williams is an African-American woman. She's the president and chief operating officer of OneUnited Bank. She said, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. OneUnited Bank introduces the Queen Card and the royalty hashtag wear your crown campaign to take the hashtag bank black and hashtag buy black movement to the next level. And the whole bank black movement was basically launched by OneUnited Bank as well back in 2016. The bank black movement as well. Okay, so that's from that press release, OneUnited Bank. We go back and look at the article from thegriot.com, hashtag Black Girl Magic, largest black-owned bank launches Visa debit card in honor of black women. This is from April 4th, 2019. This article, incidentally, April 4th, 2019, we know was the 51st anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who, contrary to popular belief, advocated for economic empowerment for African Americans, advocated for us to support our own businesses, support our own banks, etc. Okay, contrary to popular belief. A lot of people never researched Dr. King. People need to read Dr. King's last book. It's probably his most important book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. He wrote it in 1967. 1967. Where do we go from here? Chaos or Community. Okay, and if you look at and see, when we look at Dr. King is very much misunderstood. Roland Martin read a passage of this on April 4th when he did his coverage on his daily digital show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, dealing with Dr. King. But let me just share a segment here. This is page 132. Where do we go from here? Dr. King talked about, now first of all, chapter 2 is dealing with the Black Power movement. Okay, because Dr. King was not against Black Power or the ideology of the Black Power movement. He was nonviolent. He focused on nonviolence, but in general, he was not against the Black Power movement. See, chapter 2 is called Black Power, and he's talking about the Black Power movement. All right, most people never read any of Dr. King's books. All right, but if we look at page 132, he said that there are still too many Negro churches that are so absorbed in a future good over yonder that they condition their members to adjust to the present evils over here. Too many Negro newspapers have veered away from their traditional role as protest organs agitating for social change and have turned to the sensational and the conservative in place of the substantive and the militant. Too many Negro social and professional groups have degenerated into snobbishness and preoccupation with frivolities and trivial activity. But the failures of the past must not be an excuse for the inaction of the present and the future. These groups must be mobilized and motivated. This form of group unity can do infinitely more to liberate the Negro than any action of individuals. We have been oppressed as a group, and we must overcome that oppression as a group. So when we deal with economic empowerment is part of that. It doesn't mean quit your job. I'm not telling people to quit their job, okay? But you can still have your 9-to-5 job and still engage in economic empowerment. You can still support African-American owned businesses, redirect 10% of your disposable income to support African-American owned businesses, support African-American owned publications and newspapers, things like this. Dr. King goes on to say, page 133, of where do we go from here, chaos or community. See, a lot of people don't know Dr. King wrote books. He wrote 5 books. See, when I go and speak at Dr. King Day celebrations, I can listen to what people say there and tell they never studied Dr. King. Through this form of group unity, we can begin a constructive program which will vigorously seek to improve our personal standards. Okay, through this form of group unity, we can begin a constructive program which will vigorously seek to improve our personal standards. It is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of maturity to rise to the level of self-criticism. Through group unity, we must convey to one another that our women must be respected. This is Dr. King, okay? Through group unity, we must convey to one another that our women must be respected and that life is too precious to be destroyed in a Saturday night brawl or a gang execution. Remember, Malcolm said the most disrespected woman in America is the black woman. Through community agencies and religious institutions, we must develop a positive program through which Negro youth can become adjusted to urban living and improve their general level of behavior. He goes on to say, while I strongly disagree with their separatist black supremacy philosophy, I have nothing but admiration for what our Muslim brothers have done to rehabilitate ex-convicts, dope addicts, and men and women who, through despair and self-hatred, have sunk to moral degeneracy. This is Dr. King talking about the Nation of Islam. He said, while I strongly disagree, this is page 133 of Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community. This is Dr. King in his own words, okay? While I strongly disagree with their separatist black supremacy philosophy, I have nothing but admiration for what our Muslim brothers have done to rehabilitate ex-convicts, dope addicts, and men and women who, through despair and self-hatred, have sunk to moral degeneracy. This must be attempted on a much larger scale and without the negative overtones that accompany the black Muslims, black Muslimism, okay, he called it, all right? So people need to read Dr. King in his own words. And this brother advocated for economic empowerment for African Americans, all right? He's totally misunderstood. Okay, so that's Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, Dr. King's last book. Let's go back to the article from thegrio.com dealing with OneUnited Bank and their new Queen Visa debit card. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast also. And you can email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We can get you up and running today with advertising on the podcast of our shows. We're on 8 different podcast platforms. We're on iTunes, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn, Blog Talk Radio. We have listeners all across the country, so we can help you get new customers. And you know, I've been doing the African History Network show for 9 years. 3 years on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF in Detroit. We're on every Sunday. So we have a new show that's going up probably Monday. We have a new show going up Monday. All right. Okay, so let's continue with this article from the griot.com. And let me go back and find, here we go, find the article. And Comcast is acting up over here, so I'm running off of Wi-Fi as opposed to the Ethernet connection. All right. So, OneUnited Bank introduced the Queen card in March during Women's History Month under the royalty hashtag Wear Your Crown campaign to raise awareness of the hashtag Bank Black and hashtag Buy Black movement across the nation. Terry Williams, president and COO of OneUnited Bank, said, quote, "We agree with Maya Angelou. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. We encourage the black community to celebrate the amazing past, present, and future queens in our community." Now, the bank is recognizing women in various career fields, including scientists, educators, entertainers, and activists who all made an impact on the world. All right, so we talked about Aretha Franklin, Oprah Winfrey, Angela Davis, Queen Latifah, Beyonce, Harriet Tubman, Shirley Chisholm. In February, the bank launched a Black History Month campaign with a King Visa debit card under its royalty campaign as well. The King Visa debit card. They find it important to celebrate, quote, the new generation of kings and queens in the country. OneUnited Bank supports its community, quote, by promoting financial literacy and offering affordable financial services, end quote. And this campaign embodies what it means to recognize trailblazing women who are making a difference. Black women have been especially making significant strides in entrepreneurship. The article goes on to say, citing the article from Forbes.com, and Forbes.com is citing the study, the 15-page study from American Express, dealing with women, 2018 state of women business ownership. From 2007 to 2018, the total number of African American women-owned businesses grew 164%. In 2018, there were 2.4 million black women-owned businesses across the nation, according to Forbes. In almost every sector, black women reign. Okay, so check out this article. Also from thegriot.com, blackenterprise.com has one as well. OneUnited Bank introduces Queen Card, March 22nd, 2019. OneUnited Bank introduces Queen Card, okay, as well. All right, so this is all encouraging information, encouraging news, but we have to understand, I encourage people to read the article from Forbes.com, which was cited in the article from the Griot. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news. And there's a link there to the 2018 State of Women-Owned Business Report. It's a 15-page report. I encourage people to read it, because when you actually read it, you understand, even though the number of African American female-owned businesses has grown, their annual revenue has dropped significantly. Okay, and also the annual revenue of African American owned businesses in general has dropped significantly as well. We went through a recession. We lost 53% of our wealth because of the recession, and many of us losing homes, the downturn in the housing industry as well. So even though we have an increase in the number of African American owned businesses, so now if it's 2.4 million African American female owned businesses, it's probably close to it's probably somewhere between 3.5 to 4 million black-owned businesses overall, right? But we've only seen an increase in the number of dollars that we spend with our own businesses. It's increased from 2% to about 3%. But the number of African American owned businesses has increased significantly. So largely, you have more businesses fighting over almost the same pot of money. Okay, which then reduces the overall average revenue of these businesses, and at the same time, about 95% of African American owned businesses don't have any employees; it's just the owners. So we have a lot. So we have a lot of work to do. I mean, it's good that more African American women are starting businesses, but this ties into my broadcast dealing with from April 5th, dealing with how black women can't wait 106 years for equal pay, because there was a study that said that at the current rate of what has taken place the past 30 years, it would take African American women to the year 2124 to get equal pay. Okay, so we have to understand how all this intersects and how all of this interrelates. All right, how's everybody doing? We have Love Safari. We've got Tanya. Okay, we have Tanya. We have a few of the people watching. Martha, which is why the wives and children continued. Connect, true story. Okay, the jobs people have are given mostly to immigrants in this country. What data are you citing for that? I mean, people just come up with all type of nonsense dealing with immigrants. No, it's not. At the same time, you have 7 million unfilled jobs in this country. Last month was about 7.3 million unfilled jobs in this country. Each month, the number of unfilled jobs increases. Okay? So you can't, on the one hand, say immigrants are taking all the jobs, and on the other hand, you keep having an increasing number of unfilled jobs. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov. Do some research, please. See, this is... And Trump attacks undocumented immigrants, but he has them working at his golf courses in New Jersey and New York. At the same time, he's attacking undocumented immigrants. Like February 8th, 2019, he did a presidential address from the, I guess he was in the Oval Office, and this is during the partial government shutdown, the 35-day partial government shutdown that he caused, because he's trying to strong arm money to build this fake wall, okay, that Republicans didn't want. Because when Republicans control the House of Representatives in the U.S. Senate, Republicans did not pass a bill to fund his fake wall. Okay, so this is the same wall that he lied and said Mexico was going to pay for. So now he's trying to strong arm money from Congress to pay for this wall, and he's not telling white people that own homes and have farms along the Mexican border, he's not telling them that they're going to have to confiscate their land through eminent domain, which will then cause these white people to take them to court. They're going to be tied up. They'll be tied up in lawsuits for years, and that will halt the building of this fake wall that he lied and said Mexico was going to pay for, even though Mexico said we're not paying for this wall. The whole thing is a fraud. The whole thing is a joke. The whole thing is absolutely a joke. Okay, so people have to wake up. All right, but go to BLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay, and do some research. All right, how you doing, Ingrid? Okay, and the other thing is, unlike a lot of people, I've actually been involved in hiring people. I've been involved in organizing career fairs, 2 large career fairs for a community college here in Detroit. I work for a job matching company helping people get jobs. I help coach people preparing for interviews, things like this. There's a whole lot of reasons why black people don't get hired, and none of them have anything to do with undocumented immigrants. I could tell you right now. I can tell you right now. I've talked to HR directors. We brought in HR directors as part of the career fair I helped organize, because I recruited 30 of the 35 employers at the career fair. I recruited HR directors. We had panels with the HR directors and the HR managers. We had them to head up workshops to help people understand why they don't get hired. None of that had to do with undocumented immigrants. I'm telling you right now. A lot of times black people don't get hired. It ain't because of Maria, it's because of Mary Jane. I'm talking about from experience. We've seen it. We had people who were qualified for the job. They could do it, but they couldn't pass the drug test. I'm telling you from experience. My barber right now, who's in downtown Detroit, he said he got all type of people coming through. People who are executives. He's in downtown Detroit. He's in one of the office buildings. He has professionals coming in. He said he had to stop referring people for jobs because so many of them could not pass the drug test. I'm keeping it real. Okay? See, people don't want to deal with none of that. They don't want to talk about any of that. And at the same time, they don't want to tell you, wait a second. You got about 7 million unfilled jobs right now in this country. So how do you on the one hand say undocumented immigrants are taking all the jobs when you have an increasing number of unfilled jobs every month? Last month was about 7.3 million unfilled jobs. Nobody wants to deal with this. See, nobody wants to deal with this. Okay, let's continue here. But if you want to do something about undocumented immigrants, the first place you should go is Donald Trump's properties. He's illegally hiring them. Imagine that, the President of the United States, who wants to demonize them. Okay, Rynette. So African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Invite your friends to tune in also. And then for 4 months, the unemployment rate for African Americans ticked up. Trump ain't saying anything about that. He hasn't said anything also about why the unemployment rate for African Americans is double that of white Americans. A lot of that has to do with historical inequities. A lot of that has to do with us being having a history of our land being stolen from us, going from 15 million acres of land in about 1920 down to 1 million acres of land today, losing tens of thousands of businesses because of the U.S. Interstate Highway Acts of 1952 and 56 that drove 41,000 miles of U.S. Interstate Highway all throughout the country and ran through African-American communities, wiping out our businesses, things like this, right? So which made us more dependent upon white-owned businesses. But Trump hasn't said anything about why the unemployment rate for, even though it was cut in half by President Obama, he doesn't want to talk about that. It went from a peak of 16.8% down to 7.8% in December 2016 when President Obama left the White House. 2.95 million jobs created for African Americans under President Obama, about 700,000 created for African Americans under Trump. But Trump doesn't want to deal with why the unemployment rate for African Americans, the U3 number, because there's 6 different unemployment numbers, U1 through U6. Most people don't even know this because they don't research this. Go to BLS.gov, research how the unemployment rate is calculated. But Trump don't even want to address why the unemployment rate for African Americans is double. He doesn't even want to acknowledge that. Okay? All right. So we have Tanya, Marianne, exponential existence, personal and business holistic prosperity training. Okay, interesting. Okay, so you should definitely email us, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, Marianne. So we have a special promotion. Get 3 months for the price of 1. And we take a 30-second and 60-second commercial put into the audio podcast of our shows. And we record the show live Sunday night. And we have it uploaded usually Monday. But also broadcast I do throughout the week. And we're on 8 different podcast platforms. Wherever you get your podcast from, search for the African History Network. We're on Stitcher, Castbox, iTunes, FM Player, TuneIn, a number of different platforms, okay? So we reach thousands of people across the country with each episode. We can help you get new customers. Well, also with this special promotion we have going on, we'll also do an interview with you as well to help promote your business also. All right, let's see here. But look at the also look at the unemployment numbers. When you go to BLS.gov, look at the unemployment report. Look at the information for the African American unemployment rate as well, and learn about the 6 different unemployment rates also. So the U3 number that you hear the first Friday of each month when the unemployment rate comes out, that deals with people who've looked for work in the past 4 months. In the past 4 weeks. People who've looked for work in the past 4 weeks. Okay, that's one indicator, but that's not the only indicator. So we have to understand how this is calculated. WashingtonPost.com, U.S. added 196,000 jobs in March as economy shows signs of springing back, but there's also signs of it slowing down as well. Okay, so check that out, WashingtonPost.com also, okay? All right, so everybody, and also if you like this type of information, you could donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So that helps us keep doing the research. stay on the air, finance the research, finance the African History Network show, pay the bills, etc. All right, so this is a lot of work, a lot of research. Those in Cleveland, I should be in Cleveland Sunday, May 5th at the Cleveland Natural Hair Care Expo. I'll be doing a workshop there, Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization, and the role of black women in the film Black Panther. So come on out for that. And let's see here. Let's look at some more of your comments. I'm trying to, the internet is acting up here. So I'm trying to pull this up. And I'm running off of Wi-Fi because the Ethernet was acting up. Let's look at replying to, Tanya said, replying to Tony, in order to form your business, you will need a specific location. Okay, what type of business is that? I encourage people who are going to start a business, or if you have not taken at least one entrepreneurship class, I encourage you to take an entrepreneurship class. You can go to a local community college. You can do Boyce Watkins, the blackbusinessschool.com. I taught entrepreneurship for at least 7 years. My degree's in business administration with a major in marketing. You are going to learn invaluable information if you take at least one entrepreneurship class that can save you thousands of dollars and can keep you from going out of business, possibly going bankrupt, but it can definitely keep you from going out of business. These small business services are stealing funds and stealing ideas. Which small business services are you referring to? That's a broad statement. This is how people weight you. WEIGHT. Are you saying that I need to go on a diet? Who said that? All right. I've lost some weight. I'm working on it. I've lost some weight. I'm back working out. I got a little derailed on my diet because I was out of town last weekend at the 18th annual Baltimore Natural Hair Care Expo. But I'm working out. Tanya, Tony needs earphones. Started his business in Portland, Oregon. Okay. Well, if you want to do a LLC, limited liability company, you want to go to your state's website, because usually you form your LLC through the state's website. They'll let you know how much it is. They can get you. You can submit the application. They can get you confirmed probably in 48 business hours. And then you want to go to irs.gov, and apply for an EIN number, employee identification number. They'll give you that, usually like same day, your EIN number. And then with that, you can go to the bank and open up a bank account. Okay. All right, trucking business. All right. All right. Yeah, trucking is not going anywhere. That's a lucrative business. Trucking business. Everything around you at one point was on a truck. Everything that you see, probably everything you use, at one point was on a truck. Okay. All right. So look, hey, we listen to the African History Network show Sunday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. We have a fantastic show coming up this Sunday. We're going to deal with some of the things. We'll talk about Nipsey Hussle. Go watch the 2 videos I did dealing with Nipsey Hussle as well. A lot of people putting out videos. They just found out about Nipsey Hussle when he was killed, you know. But I knew about him already before he was killed. Follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. Follow us there. Click on the yellow button. Subscribe there. Click on the yellow button. Not the yellow button. The bell. So you'll be notified when we go live as well. And go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. The link is there to listen to the podcast of the African History Network show. My DVD lectures are there also. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We know March was Women's History Month. Here is my 4-hour presentation, Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. So I deal with some well-known and not so well-known African women in our history from all different time periods in this presentation, Great African Women in History, the mothers of civilization as well. Okay. All right. Okay, so look, we have to get out of here. Remember, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. Right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.